Welcome to Midnight Story, the podcast where legends breathe and nightmares live on. Tonight, we invite you to travel deep into the forgotten jungles of Indonesia, a place where ancient spirits dance unseen, and one misstep could cost you everything. This was a viral story on a Twitter thread that was made into a movie about 6 students, a cursed village, and a covenant that demands more than they ever imagined. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and remember, there are some places that should not be disturbed. This ... is service learning in the village of Dansa. One sweltering summer, when the air was thick and heavy, 6 university students embarked on a journey that would forever change them. They never imagined their story would slip into rumor and legend, whispered as a warning for those who dared to go too far. For them, it was nothing more than a community service program, an ordinary field assignment to complete their final credits. Her name was Nia, quiet, devout, and gentle. She was the first to feel the uneasy pull of the place. Wijia, graceful and strikingly beautiful, seemed unbothered, though in her heart she too sensed something waiting. Bima, the reserved young man with secret longings, felt almost relieved to escape the city. Ayu, Wayu, and Anton treated the trip as nothing more than an academic errand. None of them could have known that beyond the wooden gates of the village, time moved differently, and even the smallest mistake could become a curse. The journey took more than 7 hours. As their aging vehicle rumbled onto a narrow track, the forest pressed in like an ancient secret. Giant leaves drooped low, brushing against the windows. Dampness clung to their skin, and the scent of old earth filled their lungs. The deeper they traveled, the fainter their phone signals grew until, finally, there was no connection to the outside world. They arrived just as the sun slid behind the trees, smearing red across the sky. The house where they would stay was raised on bamboo stilts. Its walls sagged under the weight of time, draped in wild vines. An elderly man stood waiting Pak Prabu, the village head. His expression was solemn, his voice barely above a whisper. He spoke of rules, strict, unbreakable rules. Certain places must never be entered. Above all, no one was ever to walk toward the east, past the twin boundary stones that marked the edge of the human world. Beyond them lay a realm that did not belong to the living, a place claimed by the dancing spirit. That first night, Nur lay awake, unable to shake her unease. The wind sighed through the cracks in the walls, carrying a scent she did not recognize, damp, sweet, and decaying. Sleep came in fragments, and with it, visions. In her dreams, she stood before an old pavilion rotting in the forest. A woman waited there, tall and motionless. Her face was pallid, her eyes hollow. Slowly, she began to dance each step, delicate and terrifying in its grace. When Nora woke, her nightdress was damp with sweat, and through the darkness outside the window, she heard the faint chiming of a gap. In the days that followed, their unease only grew. Wijia began to feel watched. While she washed clothes at the river, she glimpsed eyes beneath the surface, vanishing as quickly as they appeared. In the evenings, she caught dark shapes slipping between trees. Bima was changing. Once shy and mild, he grew distant. His eyes lost their light. At night, he would sit on the threshold, arms around his knees, staring into the darkness as if waiting for someone only he could see. One evening, when the fog came early and thick, Bima slipped out without a word. Perhaps it was loneliness that drew him on, perhaps desire, perhaps something older still, whispering to him in a voice no one else could hear. At the very edge of the village, 2 moss-covered stones stood like gateposts. Beyond them, the earth belonged to something else, He stepped across, deeper into the forest, until he came to a clearing. The pavilion from Nua's dreams waited for him, their roof sagging, floor slick with moss. And in the center, the dancer turned to greet him. No one knew what Bhima did that night. But from then on, the disturbances grew relentless. Vidya fell ill, her temperature rising and falling without reason. Ayu began to dream of the same woman, her face now peeling and half-rotten. While Yu heard footsteps behind him as he drew water at the well. Anton found wet footprints on the porch, though the ground outside remained dry. Nur began to suffer the worst. Time and again, she fell into trances, her voice cracking into something not her own. Through her lips came the same words over and over. This place is not yours. You have made a pact, and the dancer will have her payment. Bhima's condition worsened. He muttered to himself in the dark. Sometimes he wept, begging forgiveness from something no one else could see. At last, the night came when everything unraveled. The gamelan rose, louder than ever, a festival of unseen hands. The wind roared against the walls, rattling the boards until they nearly broke. Vidya writhed in fever. Bhima trembled, face drawn tight, lips turning blue. When he cried out, it was not in any language the others understood. Then, silence so deep it seemed to swallow every living thing. Bhima's body went still. His eyes stared unblinking at the ceiling. At dawn, Pak Prabhu came. He looked at Bhima's face and said nothing, for he had always known what must happen. Nua, dazed and broken, thought she heard the gamelan fading into the trees, its melody carrying a soul into the darkness. The days that followed blurred into grief. Ayu fell sick, unresponsive. Wayu could not stop crying. Anton no longer spoke. Vidya spent weeks recovering, her body thin as a reed. Finally, Nia and Vidya were taken to a Kayai, a holy man who cleansed them with prayers. But even after the rituals, their hearts were scarred. Ayu lingered in a half-waking state, never quite returning. Wayu and Anton survived in body, but carried their terror for the rest of their lives. Only Nur and Vidya could describe what had happened. But even they would admit no words could truly capture the horror of the dancer in the forest. Today, when dusk gathers in that village and the fog begins to drift between the trees, people say you can still hear it, a ghostly gamelan drifting from the east. And if you dare to look, you might see her, the woman in the batik scarf, her hollow eyes fixed on you as she sways to her endless, silent music, waiting, watching, forever demanding what was promised. Thank you for listening to Midnight Story. If you enjoyed this story, please follow, rate, and share this podcast to help us bring more tales from the shadows to life. And remember, even when the story ends, the echoes remain. Until next time, keep your lanterns burning and your eyes open. Good night.